Hello from Land. I'm Jane, and today we are joined by Chris Lokey. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. So today we're going to talk about studying the MBA at the AGSM for some adventure and exploration, as well as expanding that international presence in your CV. But before you go into that, Chris, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Right. So my background is I'm from the United States, originally from Dallas, Texas. I did undergrad starting in 2015 and graduating in 2019 at Texas A&M, and there I studied industrial engineering. And for the past couple years, I've been doing supply chain management through a couple different companies, but mostly at HEB, which is a grocery company down in Texas. So that was very interesting from COVID perspective, and just from a, kind of, it was my first management experience. So very interesting, learned a lot from that. And my time during all of that kind of pushed me to where I am right now, actually.
Perfect. So you could be doing your MBA anywhere in the world. Why did you choose AGSM specifically?
Right. So my first instinct actually was to do my MBA in the U.S. That was the logical option, and I was going to try to do it in my hometown. So I could have saved money staying with my parents or with other family. I could have been familiar with the town, all that stuff. However, the career that I wanted for myself isn't limited to my hometown or my home state or even my home country. So for me personally, it was important to search for opportunities outside of the U.S. And specifically what interested me most was Asia Pacific. So in the process of looking for an MBA, I was looking at schools in Korea. I looked at some ones around Southeast Asia. But I did decide on AGSM for a couple reasons. One, the language barrier was part of it. I am monolingual English, so this was a bit of a more accessible option for me. But I mean, other than that, it's a really good school, and it was one of the first ones that opened up in this area after COVID. So when I started looking, there weren't very many options in this area. So I was kind of limited with my options there. But after doing my interviews, after researching the school a little bit, and researching the potential careers I could have in Sydney specifically, AGSM just made sense for me.
Okay, so it sounds like you're planning to stay here after the MBA then?
So I'm actually undecided. This is my first time living abroad, and it's been about 6 months now. So I've got a good feel for what it's like living here. And then I've got a good feel for what it's like not living back in the States. I'm thinking I'm going to probably make the definitive decision around January 1st.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's what I'm shooting for. But I go back to the States middle of December. So I'll get to go back, kind of look at it again with maybe some fresh eyes, and then see how much I miss Australia, see how much I miss the U.S., and probably make a decision from that point. Honestly, right now, it's kind of hard to give an answer. It's really 50-50. Either way, it's going to be a tough decision, because I really do like it here.
And it's not exclusive. It's not binary. Just because you decided to stay here, it doesn't mean that you can't ever go back.
Exactly.
You can still explore it as you go, right?
And the companies I'm looking at, like the top, the companies 1, 2, 3 for me, they're all airlines actually. And that's an industry that I like, but a big perk of that is if I do end up missing a place, then it's a bit more easy to, not necessarily easy, but it's maybe a little bit easier to kind of get back or go visit or take a couple days and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna hop on a plane and go visit somebody.
Nice. Okay. And how do you find Australia so far?
Well, honestly, a little bit colder than I expected, but I'm actually really loving it. So, oh God, that's a long conversation, but it surprised me how similar things are to where I'm from, and it's also surprised me how different things are. I think probably the biggest culture shock may just be the trains. That sounds kind of silly, but just honestly, like the one that affects me on a daily basis is I don't drive every day here, which I actually do love. My commute is either a 15-minute walk or a 5-minute train ride. And if I want to get to the city, I can just take the train. If I want to go pretty much anywhere, there is a bus or a train or an option like that, which is fantastic. Because I did get kind of sick of driving at some point. And I do enjoy it, but it's not fun to commute that way. So that's been the biggest thing that honestly affected me is not having to drive everywhere. Secondarily, though, maybe the beach and just having it close by. I've never lived close to the beach. So That's been super awesome.
Have you taken up surfing yet?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Very bad at it. Terrible, in fact, actually.
That's all right. You still have fun?
Oh yeah, super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake and Francisco actually have
Oh,
been.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you've met them yet, but they're part of the cohort. But they've been teaching me the basics of surfing,
Yeah.
letting me borrow their surfboards.
Yeah.
Just trying to kind of help me get a
Yeah.
feel for it.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, obviously, but it's super, super fun. And when you actually do get it right,
Yeah.
super satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So good fun. Yeah, I want to get better at it.
And the view doesn't hurt either.
No, it does not. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And see, I don't know. I should have like some predetermined answers for this question because it gets picked up a lot.
No, that's all right.
I don't know. Maybe that is kind of the two big things that really stand out to me the most. Food's different. I do miss the food back home. That's, I guess, been one of the harder things. Besides the obvious being friends and family, food has been pretty different. Like
Yeah.
I'm used to very Texas kind of style food. And it's like barbecue,
Yeah.
Mexican food, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and just typical American food.
Yeah.
And it's harder to find that here.
Yeah,
I think
no,
the
not
closest to what I'm used to, like Mexican food wise, would be like Guzman y Gomez.
Yeah.
And it gets the job done. But it's not the
Yeah.
same as like getting street tacos
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything like that, or enchiladas. And
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say maybe food. I'll throw food in there for the third one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And so for those people who are thinking about doing the MBA abroad just to discover themselves, to explore the world, what tip would you give them?
Right. I would say go for it. Commit to it. And it's not for everybody. If it's not something that interests you at all, then it's kind of hard to, recommend it. But if it's something you're interested in, I would highly recommend it. Even if it's a difficult experience, it's going to be a rewarding experience. Whether you're doing an MBA or whether you're doing something international or whether you're doing an international MBA, truthfully, both have been very rewarding experiences for me.
Yeah.
Very glad I did it.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's been easier. In some ways, it's been more challenging than I expected. But it's been continually a good experience in that I've learned a lot. I've met cool people. I've been able to do a lot of cool things that I
Yeah.
would have never expected myself to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
And if there is one thing that you could change, if you could do the whole thing all over again, what would you do differently?
oh, that's a toughie. On hindsight, I'd probably like budget differently. I'd say I was a bit more optimistic when I initially budgeted for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't regret any of it.
Yeah.
It's just, I definitely could have probably been like, okay, realistically, I probably need to, think about these things, these expenses.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving my job at the end of March or end of February. Yeah. So I had a good 2 months, and one of those months was in Australia where I wasn't working, I wasn't doing school. And I'll be honest, because
Yeah.
I'd been saving so stringently,
Yeah.
basically since I graduated.
Yeah.
I flipped the switch and I was like, let's go.
And it was first month, so
yeah, it was
you're
like
full charge.
yeah. So I definitely was just like, we're just going for it. I would have probably reeled it in a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was still a really fun month, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
relatively glad that I did that. It was
Okay.
fun. I see what else. I don't know. I think what I probably would have also done is in that first initial month,
Yeah.
tried to travel a bit outside of Sydney more, because I was busy,
Yeah.
learning about like, Sydney,
Yeah,
like
where
Sydney
things
and where things are, who's
orient
here.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah. What I would have done differently though is probably taken a good week or two to explore New South Wales in general. Maybe try to get to. I've been to Melbourne now, but I would have tried to probably go sooner. Just explore some more parts that weren't just the middle of
Yeah.
Sydney, because I didn't get a chance to leave,
Yeah.
just the middle of Sydney
Yeah.
until I'd been here for at least 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have done that sooner, because there's beautiful stuff out there that I just never saw over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing
thank
all
you. I
those
appreciate
tips.
it.
Yeah. Don't forget to press the subscribe button so that the next video will go straight to your box. See you next time.
Cheers.